I think we are about to see something that could change things up a lot. Hi, and welcome to Blossom Talk. I'm Justin Baldoni, and here on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences working in Hollywood as a reporter, and as you know, a lot about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's legal feud. I'm sure you're feeling the same way about everything that's been going on the last few days. Everyone's just asking, having big question marks about what's next, what's really happening behind the scenes. What do we know by now? I think one thing that I've just learned since yesterday is that Blake Lively did not show up at the deposition that was planned with Bryan Freedman 2 days ago. I don't know what her deal is, why she didn't show up. I think they have agreed to another date in July. And what I've heard is that all depositions must be in by August 14th. I feel a little deflated right now, I have to say. I think a lot of these things, I've said this before, that it just brings up all the trauma that I experienced during my Golden Globes lawsuits, a lot of the same frustration that justice is not fair. And I think this is another example of that, when power and money wins over truth and what I would call justice. Anyways, of course, it's not over yet. As I've said so many times, it isn't. And also since yesterday, Bryan Freedman has come out with a statement. And this is what he said. The court decisions on the motion to dismiss has no effect whatsoever on the truth that there was no harassment nor any smear campaign. And it does not in any way affect our vigorous defense against Ms. Lively's claims. Discovery is proceeding, and we are confident that we will prevail against these factually baseless accusations. Then he says, instead of revisiting the existing claims, our clients will be pursuing additional legal options that are available to us. As I said yesterday, I was guessing that they might go for an appeal. I'm not sure if that's what's going to happen, but I think that's the only kind of other legal options that they have, unless they wait out this lawsuit and file another lawsuit in another court, because his claims are dead in this court unless he has a successful appeal. So the press has picked this up now, and People magazine, page 6, everyone is reporting on why Justin Baldoni's lawyer decided not to amend his complaints. And TMZ's got a statement from Blake Lively's lawyers. They're saying that the court dismissed this frivolous $400 million Baldoni wayfarer lawsuit in its entirety. In the days that follow, Baldoni's lawyer said the judge's decisions to dismiss their case was not a big deal, as they promised to amend and refile it. As per usually, that was not true. The court's dismissal of Baldoni's sham lawsuit was a total victory after all. So again, they're claiming this to be a victory. Interesting. I feel like the more that goes in Blake Lively's favor, the more people hate her. So what's happening now is against everything that Blake is fighting for. The more she fights this man that we all see as innocent, the more unpopular she becomes, and the more people despise her and Ryan Reynolds. And the whole point of this lawsuit is really to clear her name and to prove that the actual hate against her is from bots and not real people. But guess what? I am 100% sure that Baldoni's team in the end will be able to prove that there was zero smear campaign against Blake Lively. And as I said so many times before, I am a living proof of that. I've gotten some suggestions from you guys to watch Judge Liz, who is a creator on YouTube who's retired judge who has a lot of opinions about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and the legal feud there. She made this video after Justin Baldoni's case was dismissed on June 9th, or just a few days after that. She's saying that she feels that the case was dismissed on grounds that are unconstitutional. And she said if she was Bryan Freedman or Justin Baldoni, she would definitely appeal this lawsuit.
It's clear to everyone how I feel about this whole defamation thing. I think that California law is absurd. I think that it's unfair. I think that it violates Justin Baldoni's constitutional rights. I would 100% appeal this decision. I would challenge the constitutionality of 47.1 It is unfair. It violates the constitutional rights of Justin Baldoni and any other person who may be falsely accused. It does not consider any type of situation where a person may be lying, may be completely defaming another person, ruining the person's life, ruining the person's career. I think it's unconstitutional. I think it should be appealed. And I think that's Justin's course of action in this case. That's what I would do if I were him. That's what I would do if I were his lawyer.
That's what I said yesterday too, that I'm really hoping for here, but who knows? It's really hard to win these appeals. I'll come back to that in a short while. I just wanted to point out Judge Liz's example here of how this law is insane. She's saying that, if a businessman from a small community, if someone wants to hurt him, they can go out and accuse him of SH and file a complaint and leak it to the local newspapers, and they will report on it. And this man is just sitting there having to take it. He can defend himself, but he can never go out and accuse this woman of defamation, even if everything is a lie. So the thing is, if Justin Baldoni decides to appeal, I think they made up their decision what they're going to do already. He has a couple of weeks to do that. But as far as I understand, he cannot add additional information. And the new judge is not going to look at any of the facts in the lawsuit. They're not going to base a new judgment on that. They're only going to base it on the fact that if they think that the judge did something wrong, that he did an error by dismissing it. He needs to challenge the judge's decision of dismissing the case, basically. He can then ask for a reversal or a remand. The problem is that statistically, these cases are only about 8 to 12%. They only have about an 8 to 12% chance of succeeding. A very small amount results in a full win for the appellant. So it is a big risk for Baldoni to do that. He might just do it to prove his point again. And as I said before, I think that when Bryan Freedman filed the lawsuit against New York Times for $250 million, he knew that the chances of that getting dismissed was really big. I think, as many other creators and journalists out there think, that he did that just to get the information out there to help his case or to get the public to see what was actually going on. But the case that was dismissed against Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Leslie Sloan and Vision PR, that's a different story. Talking about Leslie Sloan, this is quite interesting. I watched this, a lot of you sent it to me. Without a crystal ball, Katie over there did this video yesterday that I watched a few times to get all the details because it's so complicated. This case is crazy. But what she's pointing out in this video is so relevant and really, really makes a big difference in this case. So Leslie Sloan, as I said, now she's claiming Wayfair parties to pay her legal fees. And she said it's been proven now in court that all the claims against her were baseless, basically. But here's the twist. Okay, so I've been talking about James Vituscka before, and as Katie is saying in her video, you can go and watch the entire video. I'll link it below if you want to watch it. She's saying that James Vituscka now might be backing off from his previous sworn statement because it seems like he might have been pressured to write this statement, this sworn statement, to the judge to say that everything was a misunderstanding. Taking that statement into consideration, and as Katie pointed out in her video, taking the text messages from the first lawsuit into consideration, you could see the conversation between James Vituscka and Leslie Sloan. And there's an article in Daily Mail proving that James Vituscka had a source who told him all these bad things about Justin Baldoni. And I don't know if it was ever discussed with Bryan Freedman, who was the source of that article and other articles about Justin Baldoni. But this is interesting because Leslie Sloan said she never ever talked badly about Justin Baldoni with any reporters. And James Vituscka also denied that he had conversations with her about Blake Lively accusing Baldoni of SH and SA. That's what this whole thing is about. I'm so sorry. It sounds so complicated, which is which it kind of is. But here's a little bit from that Daily Mail article that James Vituscka wrote on August 9th last year. He said, Justin Baldoni was chauvinistic and borderline abusive on the set of It Ends With Us and sparked fury over his refusal to consider the perspective of co-star Blake Lively's character while filming some of these sensitive scenes. Now, insiders have revealed the concerning truth about the tensions, telling DailyMail.com that Blake and Justin clashed over his dismissive attitude to her input while they were filming scenes that involved abuse. And it says here that some women on set felt he was borderline abusive and that he was unprofessional and unapologetic. The insider alleged that the actor also served as director and producer, failed to recognize both Blake and Colleen's roles as fellow producers and writers. And they said he took it very personally when the pair asked for some script rewrites. This whole article is filled with lies, as you can hear. His behavior extended beyond the main players. The source continued. Now it's only one source. It was several sources earlier in this article. Anyways, once he felt ganged up on, he became even less empathetic. Now he's speaking praises likely out of fear that they'll call him out. He knows it's coming and might try to blame his actions on being a method actor. This story is written by that reporter that had a lot of communications with Leslie Sloan and the text messages that were revealed in the lawsuit against the New York Times. These conversations, the texts between Leslie Sloan and James Vituscka were in there. And you saw that they had a lot of back and forth conversations and communications about this. And there were also text messages where James Vituscka called Leslie Sloan a liar. But now the interesting twist here is that, as I said a few days ago, James Vituscka's got a new lawyer. He did get rid of the lawyers that represented him from I think they were the in-house lawyers at Daily Mail, and he replaced them with a criminal defense attorney, the same that defended Jussie Smollett. So yes, I think there is definitely something going on behind the scenes here. Why would he hire a criminal attorney? That is the big question. So Katie is speculating that he was pressured into sending that sworn statement to the judge, saying that it was all a misunderstanding, that he might have been pressured and threatened by Daily Mail or allegedly by Leslie Sloan. And now, for some reason, this has come to light. I don't know if he's the one who has been like honest about it or if someone figured it out, but it seems like that sworn statement might not be truthful. I would add allegedly here. I don't want to get into trouble, but there was a text message also in Leslie Sloan's claims to the judge when she's asking to cover her legal fees. And there was a text message she added there from James Vituscka, allegedly sent to Bryan Freedman, where he's saying, please keep me out of this. I don't want to be a part of this lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. I could lose my job, meaning that he felt pressured by Daily Mail. He would then also be revealing his source or sources, which is very serious as a journalist if you do that. And Daily Mail obviously don't want him to do that. And that text message really looked weird to me because when you looked at all the communications he already had with Bryan Freedman at that point, it seemed really off and very like, hi, this is James Vituscka. They already texted, so why would he say that, hi, this is James Vituscka to Bryan Freedman? It seemed very curated. I don't know. But anyways, she put that in there. There's a lot of things now that are not really adding up. And I think the fact that he now has a criminal attorney defending him here, I think we are about to see something that could change things up a lot. So yes, Baldoni's case is dismissed, but if a key witness was pressured to lie, that's not just a technicality. That is potential legal misconduct. If he flips and if he says, I was pressured to write this statement, I was pressured to say these things because of Leslie Sloan or because of Daily Mail, we could see appeals, new lawsuits, or even bigger fallouts for those who tried to bury the truth. He could face charges of obstruction of justice and lying in a sworn declaration, which is perjury. So if this is what really happens, the big question is whether Vituscka came forward on his own or someone caught him in lying. Either way, when he hired a new attorney, that means things are serious. My question is, why would a journalist sign a sworn statement that contradicts the texts that were already in a public lawsuit? They were already there, that we've seen the communication with him and Leslie Sloan and with him and Bryan Freedman, and him calling Leslie Sloan a liar. Yeah, so something serious is going on behind the scenes, and hopefully this could help Justin Baldoni a lot. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too confusing. It is a little confusing, all of this stuff, and I'm a lot of lawyers and all these terms. There are a lot of them, especially because I feel that there's so much technicalities involved and not so much common sense. Anyways, there is also some new legal papers regarding that Vanzan. Remember that sham lawsuit that Blake Lively's company Vanzan filed a subpoena against Jones' work. And then she was like, oh, I need to get Jen Abel's phone because they're asking for it. And then they're like, oh, now Blake Lively has all the information. Anyways, so now the Vanzan did not produce the documents that they were asked to produce on June 24th. And they gave nothing to the Wayfair parties. I mean, this sham lawsuit could prove that Blake Lively's team and Jones' work were collaborating. We kind of know that they did, but they need to prove that. And also that their main goal here was to start a smear campaign against Justin Baldoni. And the fact is, Blake Lively's lawyers have already said that this is completely normal to just file a lawsuit to 10 anonymous John Does and ask to get people's phones. That's completely normal. And then use that information, give it to another party. Anyone can just do that then? Just file sham lawsuits against people when they want to see their phones? Jennifer Abel here wants to see the shareholders of Vanzan because then she can prove who was behind that sham lawsuit. I don't know if it's public knowledge yet, if Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively actually owns it. I mean, I thought that was already something that everyone knew, but I guess it needs to be proven that they did own this company and that they only used it for the sole purpose of getting Jennifer Abel's phone. And then, as you know, a few days before Blake Lively filed her CRD complaint, that lawsuit was just dropped. It was never even a lawsuit. I don't know. It just disappeared. So apparently this is especially helpful if Justin Baldoni plans to appeal or fight anti-slap fee requests against him. As I just said, Leslie Sloan is planning to file to ask for, or she's already asked for attorney's fees to be covered. And I think it says a lot when Vanzan refused to cooperate here. I feel like everyone who's refusing to cooperate have something to hide. I don't know. Anyways, you guys, there's so much like really confusing things going on here. I'm trying to keep up to date. I feel like I'm reading about this story 24/7, trying to find new information everywhere. And I really want to keep you guys updated. Anyways, one little positive thing in the end here. Dan sent me these photos from New York, and it seems like Blake Brown's Mist that she just launched is already on sale. That means people don't want to buy Blake Brown Mist. I think that's a good thing, and I think that Blake Lively should pay for all the damage she has done to so many people, not only Justin Baldoni, but all the people at Wayfair, everyone else that's been dragged into this, her co-stars, the writers, the producers. There's so many people she harmed, and so many people this is costing a lot of money. So the fact that Blake Brown is on sale proves that there's some kind of justice out there. And yeah, Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support and your tips that you're sending me. You guys are amazing. You know that already. And thanks for again liking my song, for sharing it with people. And I've received other songs from people who made songs about this drama. I think it's amazing. It's a great way to get a little frustration out, to be creative, and to channel all this despair that we're feeling right now. So yes, take care everyone, and I will see you very soon. Bye.